wherever you want to talk sports.
Now it's time for Monty in the Morning.
Hey, yo, man. How the heck are you? It is Thursday, November 11th, 2021. Just about, 2 weeks until vacation. 2 weeks from now, I will be asleep on Maui, and everything will be right in the world. Unlike today, right, Jake?
That's right.
Unlike today. We get to talk about the petty, ridiculous arguments over recruiting in the state of Utah today. A major name tied to the Utah Jazz. It's coming up on silly season in the NBA. And with several big names available, I think you're going to hear a lot of rumors. So my guess is we'll play a lot of, what's real and what's fake on this show. Okay, apparently the music's going to end.
Okay.
Why? Hey, that's a you thing.
Yeah, I don't know. The computer's tripping.
I don't control that.
It's my bad.
Yeah, Jake's an idiot. Anyway, the point is, so we'll play some silly season coming up. And then, of course, we get to talk about Dan Orlovsky and how he avoids infidelity.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't understand this whole premise of, oh, man, there's so much temptation. And as men, we could cheat every day if we wanted to. Really? Is it really that difficult not to cheat on your wife as a guy?
Apparently.
I just don't see it that way.
Yeah, I mean, I think it depends on who you are as a dude. I think it's a just like it is for women as men, we all have choices we make, and I think that that's why Dan's taking a lot of heat for what he said.
Yeah, we'll talk about that coming up in a bit. But I want to start with some, teenagers causing great strife and consternation here in the state of Utah because this Colin Chandler situation, and before we talk about that particular kid specifically, I detest recruiting. I hate the star rating system and his parents and my dad, and he knows this guy, and there's no better system for it. There isn't. There's no way to fix the stupidity, the pettiness, the mongering, the anger, the vitriol over teenagers making decisions on where they're going to go to college. There's no way to fix it. And if there was ever an example, it is Colin Chandler choosing BYU over Utah. And the idea, of course, is from Ute fans that somehow somebody delivered a bag of money to Colin Chandler. That's the only reason he would flip. Well, never mind that Colin Chandler announced right afterward that he was going to serve a church mission. He's not going to play at BYU until 2024. And the reason that he says that he went to BYU was because momentum in the basketball program and he wants to play against Big 12 competition. Which seems perfectly reasonable. And if we're really truth-telling here, the reason he went to BYU very well could be the Big 12. Very well could be that he is obviously LDS and he's going to serve a mission. And most kids that come back off of missions are far more comfortable at BYU. And, oh, by the way, BYU's, name, image, likeness stuff, his ability to make money off the court is exponentially higher at BYU than it is at Utah. So I actually don't think anything nefarious happened here, Jake. I think the kid made a business decision.
Yeah, and I think Utah fans are upset that BYU has all this momentum. I mean, that's what this is, and that's what recruiting comes down to pretty consistently. When you lose the recruiting battle, let's flip-flop it. Let's wind the clocks back 5 years. Hey, Utah was winning all these big recruits, right? And what was the logic then? Well, Utah is just a better program. You have more opportunity to go to the NFL. BYU doesn't put guys in the league or in the NFL or the NBA, whatever, however you want to look at it. Basically Utah is just a better overall opportunity. And now that whole narrative has flipped because of, like Colin said, the momentum in the basketball program, the NIL situation. Like, you have all these things that are, pushing BYU forward. Like he said, the opportunity to play Big 12 talent. So to me, I think the whole idea of Utah fans being like, well, he was given a bag of money and that's why he chose BYU is petty. I mean, that's classic Utah fan logic, in my opinion, And I think that at the end of the day, in the state of Utah, BYU has done a phenomenal job of closing the gap between the two programs, and really at this point, in my opinion, is a step ahead of Utah because of everything that's going on. So no, I don't think it's I don't think that he was given a bag of money to go to BYU. I think that BYU has some pretty intriguing options right now, and BYU, according to everything that's been written about the situation and how it all went down after his visits and everything like that, BYU does a hell of a job recruiting and painting the picture of what your life will be like if you go to BYU. And I think ultimately, if we really look at it, that's what kids care about. Hey, I wanted to serve a mission. All right, great. Obviously, that's going to swing towards BYU. But then what is campus life like? What is the facility like? Like if you go on Google and you just search, for this kid's name and put BYU behind it, you're going to see all these pictures that he went ahead and took while he was at BYU after he committed and everything in the basketball arena. He's having fun with it. And that's what I think people don't realize. It's not just a straight up business decision. These kids care about after, after BYU. What is, am I going to have a good time? Like all of these things come into play. It's not just, man, am I going to get 25 minutes a night playing at BYU? That's not the only factor. And that's why I say, when Utah fan is like, oh, well, he just got a bag of money to go and play at BYU, that's just so obviously not the case based on everything the kid has said. So I just think that that's always going to be what the losing end, whether we're talking Utah, BYU, or any other program, that's always going to be what the losing side says. Oh, well, there's no way that they could have chose that program over ours. It is what it is, man. That's what you're going to deal with in recruiting. But I just think you have to give BYU a lot of credit for getting into the Big 12, for all the scheduling they do, all of these things. They put kids in a position to win, and that's really what I think separates them.
Yeah, and the frustrating thing is that it couldn't be possible that right now I think BYU has a far more aggressive uniform, combination. And kids really like uniforms, and kids like having their pictures taken in football uniforms. And BYU blows them up and puts it on social media and gives the kids the pictures, and the kids put it on social media. And it's fun. It's fun. And BYU's winning big football games, and BYU has a tremendous basketball infrastructure right now. And BYU's a really attractive place to go play basketball and football. Does that mean that Utah is not? No, it certainly does not. And that's the thing that I think has always been the issue on both sides of the line. Whether you wear red or you wear blue, you always feel inferior just because a teenager made a decision that you didn't agree with.
Mm-hmm.
And I've never understood that. If you are Colin Chandler or any other kid in his position, why would you choose Utah over BYU, especially if you were going to serve a mission? Okay, that's an obvious one. But look at the money that kids are making at BYU right now. Look at all the Built Bar stuff. Look at all of the Ryan Smith stuff. Look at all of the opportunity that you have that does not exist right now at Utah. And Utah's going to get name, image, likeness figured out. They will. But right now, they don't have it figured out, frankly. And what's happening at BYU is you have kids that are making money. And you have football teams and basketball teams that are going into the Big 12 that are going to play in huge games. The Big 12 right now, I don't even know how many people realize that the Big 12 is the best basketball conference in the country.
Yeah, I do feel like that flies under the radar.
I mean, I don't think I don't know how many people actually realize that the Big 12 is a strong, strong conference right now. And everybody keeps saying, well, Texas is going to leave and that conference is going to fold. They're not folding. I got news for you. The Big 12 is much more than, Texas and Oklahoma in football. And obviously those are two huge brands. But when you look at the total package, I'm telling you that the Big 12 is healthy. The Big 12 is strong, and they're going to continue to expand. That's going to happen. It's a good place to be. And the issue is that I think on both sides of this rivalry, you're not just going to tip your cap to Colin and say, hey, solid choice, my man. Congratulations. You're going to a fantastic educational institution. You are going to serve a church mission. You are going to play fantastic college basketball. You're probably going to wind up in the NBA. I mean, if you are Colin Chandler, you're going to go on, serve a mission. You're going to come back. Do you think you're going to play 4 years at BYU? You're not. You're going to play a maximum of 2.
Mm-hmm.
Like, so the window is small. The kid's got to make all the money he can make. He's got to get the best education he can get, all at the same time trying to figure out if he's an NBA talent or not. Why would he not go to BYU?
Yeah.
So anyway, the Ryan Smith thing, by the way, I think we also need to talk about that, because why is it a crime that your boosters influence recruits? Do you understand that happens all the time? Does that mean that, oh, he had a bag man? Hey, Ryan Smith, he took a bag of cash. And you really think Ryan Smith rolled up to the Chandler's house like, hey, by the way, you see this metal suitcase? It's full of swag, and you open it up, and what is it, $1,000 bills? Like, what are we talking about?
It's got a BYU hat sitting inside.
Like, are you kidding me? They don't. Why can't it just be that this kid chose BYU over Utah? Why do we have to drag Ryan Smith because a teenager made a decision you don't agree with?
Because Utah fans feel inferior. Utah fans have pride. Utah fans don't ever want to be second to BYU, and I think that Utah fans, yeah, I mean, I think the pride factor is real for Ute fans. Like, I don't mean any disrespect by it, but I legitimately think that's what it is. There is no possible way that a kid of this caliber, talent-wise, would choose BYU over Utah. And I got news for you. The conversation, yes, is much closer in football. In basketball, I probably would go to BYU myself. Like, it is a better setup. It is a more direct route to the league. I mean, that's just where it's been lately. So, I mean, when's the last time, Kyle Kuzma was the last huge recruit to come out of Utah? Is that what we're saying? Like,
no, I think, listen, I think that's the game I don't want to play. I hate this thing where we have to be like, well, let's go back in history. I'm not doing that. Utah is down in basketball right now. It has been an extended period of not doing what everybody thought you would be doing under Coach K. You went and hired a fantastic coach. You are clearly going in the right direction. And I just don't understand. Like, you have parents of kids on the Utah basketball team tweeting slander at other kids because they chose not to go to Utah. Like, this is ridiculous. They're teenagers making decisions. And if you're trying to figure out what went into a teenager making a decision, I mean, it's insanity. You're never going to be able to figure it out truly. You take the kid at his word until you have a reason not to. And there is no reason not to. In this particular case, no reason at all. And I this is why I hate recruiting.
Mm-hmm.
I hate it. In every sport, I can't stand it. Obviously, we don't talk about baseball recruits or soccer recruits, but in basketball and football, oh, he didn't choose my school? Well, he got a bag then. Yeah, he got a bag. No, he didn't. He just didn't choose your school. He chose what was best for him, a teenager, which is why we now have a transfer portal, because, quarterbacks transfer from one school to another and then become quitters so they can transfer to another school. Right? I mean, it goes both ways.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, let's get some comments. Cody Strickland says, good morning, boys. Early? No. Right on time. Snuka says, hello. Hey, Snuka. Good to see you. Greg Hawkins says, good morning, fellas. Go Utes. Drew Hemsley says, good day, brethren. May the sports gods guide the path now and always. Absolutely.
Wow.
Giggity says, good morning, men. What's up? Greg Hawkins says, BYU has done a good job closing the gap, but I disagree with you, Jake. There will always be disadvantages to recruiting at BYU, and the advantages they enjoy, like NIL deals, will increase with Utah. I think the honor code, I think being a church-based institution is always going to simply right out of the gate eliminate a good portion of kids you'd like to come play for you. That's just the reality of it. Now, in the state of Utah, which is, to me, is huge. You have to win Utah to win the recruiting wars here. I think NIL makes a huge difference. I think the brand, I think Kalani, I think Coach Pope, I think winning, going to tournaments, going to bowl games, having access, all that stuff matters. BYU clearly has a momentum right now. It's not even arguable that right now BYU has the momentum in this state. But if you think that Utah is going to be down for long, you're wrong. I mean, Utah is going to figure out the NIL stuff. They are. They're not very good at it right now, frankly.
Mm-hmm.
But they're going to figure that out. They will. And I think once that happens, once you start just feeling good about your basketball program, there's no better story in the country than Utah football right now. I mean, what they've been through, what they're doing, incredible. Utah basketball has not been good. It's not been good. And once Craig gets that program on the right track, I think they're going to be fine. Because he's a great coach. I think, I'm not going to say it was a coup, but hiring that guy when you hired him is exactly the right move you needed. BYU basketball is solid. Utah basketball is coming. So I think we'll get even. Roy Wall says, imagine the endorsement money from Barnes bullets and body armor that will be available from the Utes. Yeah, we get it. Daryl says kids want to play for Pope. They do. They do. He is a really good coach. You know the thing that BYU does that I think Utah has to get better at? BYU paints the picture of life.
Yes.
They give you an opportunity and they almost force you to visualize prosperity at BYU. Like, they do a great job. Their visits, their experiences. They do a really good job of showing you how good your life will be in Provo. They do a really good job of, hey, we're going to the Big 12. If you don't think these guys are recruiting their asses off based on going to the Big 12, especially for the basketball program, come on.
Yeah.
Like, that's a huge, huge recruiting tool that I think is paying dividends immediately, right? And then you're giving them, like, their swag at BYU, their uniform stuff is
amazing.
Elite. It's elite at BYU.
Amazing.
The combinations, the colors, they're and I've said this for I think 2 years on this show. Their multimedia stuff, their videos, their photos, their social. BYU runs circles around every other school in this state, including Utah, in social media, content creation, video, visuals, like you name it, anything. Marketing-wise, BYU is dominant.
Well, and if you think about the whole point of kids coming to a college program, it's to get to the next level. I mean, that is, whether you are capable of that or not, that's the whole point of playing college athletics.
Yes.
Like, it is just and especially for a kid like this. I mean, you're talking about a kid who comes out of American Fork, playing at an extremely high level. You can clearly see how his game would translate to the league already. And he just needs development. And I think that's the beauty of the situation at BYU for him. I mean, we can sit here and compare Utah and BYU all day. At the end of the day, when I think about, hey, I'm trying to get to the NBA, what school do I want to go to? I'm not going to Utah to try to get to the NBA. And I'm not trying to hate on Utah, but that's just where it's at, in my opinion.
Yeah, but again, I think Craig Smith can change that for Utah. I think, and this is why, both Pope at BYU, Smith at Utah, these are two guys that can recruit and can build men. Like, these are the right guys. It feels right. I just think it takes time. But right now, there's no reason to drag Colin Chandler because you believe that Ryan Smith showed up at his house with a bag. Like, that's just stupid. You're being foolish. I mean, you're going after, and this is, again, not to be redundant, this is why I hate recruiting. We're attacking teenagers. because we don't like the decisions they made.
And by the way, he had a ton of options in the Pac-12. Let's not it wasn't just
He
Utah.
could have gone anywhere.
He could have gone really anywhere.
But
Yeah.
Ute fans are upset because he espoused as a Utah fan for life,
Mm-hmm.
and he winds up at BYU. But how many times have we seen this? I mean, where does Zach Wilson play football?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this is not the first time. So I just think that BYU and Utah will always be passionate rivals. But I just hate that we have to attack people for it. He's I mean, if you believe in star ratings and whatnot, he's the highest recruit that BYU has ever gotten in basketball. I mean, he's a very good player. Let the kid have his moment without dragging him. That's all I'm saying. Daryl says kids want to play for Pope. I agree. After his mission, he will play a minimum of 2 years, likely 2 years. Just because he's going to have to rebuild his body, rebuild his game, because he's going to take 2 years and not play much basketball. So it's very difficult for missionaries to stay in shape. We see it in football all the time. I mean, basketball is a little less because it's a lot less physically demanding. And you can usually, basketball is like riding a bike. You can usually get right back to it. So we'll see how it goes for him. I would agree it's 2 years. And now, of course, I shouldn't even read it. I shouldn't even read it. Utah fans aren't being treated as the little brother. Aren't used to be treated as the little brother, Chris Beery says. Yeah, I would agree with that. What do you guys think about the Utah fans saying it was unfair for Ryan Smith not supporting all the universities in the state because he owns the Jazz? Do you guys think that is as nuts as I do? Yeah, I think it's dumb. Ryan Smith is a BYU guy. Why he's a gazillionaire? You can't tell him how to spend his money.
Yeah.
What are you talking about? The whole Ryan Smith thing. I mean, immediately when the guy bought the Jazz, all he's done is give back to the community, and all he's done is gotten dragged for it. Like the scholarship program's a perfect example. He's giving money to underprivileged kids who wouldn't otherwise have the opportunity to go to college. And he's doing it to the tune of 50 scholarships a year. And you're dragging him for it. And I don't understand that. The guy does more for our community than perhaps any other owner in his community, or as much as any other owner. Like Ryan Smith is Ryan Smith and his family, they're just good people. And you just don't like that he's a BYU guy. That's why you're dragging him. And anyway.
Yeah, that's how it works.
Roy Wall says, I don't follow pro sports, so I am unaware of the controversy around the Jazz ownership. That's essentially it, is that Ryan Smith's a BYU guy. And he is, I mean, at the very least, he is a booster at BYU. But he's a guy that is a billionaire. And he's a guy that has tons of connections. It's why Dwayne Wade's a minority owner in the Utah Jazz, because he's interested in tech in Silicon Valley. And Ryan Smith has all kinds of connections there. And it's why he's able to give scholarships. It's why he's able to, be part of the recruiting process if he is at BYU. And frankly, if you're a booster of a university and you're not part of the recruiting process, why? If you're giving your money to that university, I would think that you would do everything you could do to make sure that the best and the brightest wind up at that school within the framework of the rules.
Absolutely.
So I don't know why this is even controversial. Why? I mean,
I think people are just upset that, like you were just saying, hey, the kid was a Utah fan and he winds up at BYU, and then we like to go down the rabbit hole of like what could have happened, and no way he could have just chose BYU over Utah.
But how many Huntsmans and Eccles buildings and people and family and friends? Do you really think that this is exclusive to BYU? Do you think this sort of booster, influence doesn't happen at Utah? Absolutely it does.
Yeah.
Absolutely it does. How do you feel if you're Utah State in this conversation? You don't even have a dog in the fight. I mean, are you kidding me? Like, it's all fair in love and war, man. It is what it is. It's not a problem, honest to God. It is not a problem. And I just don't understand why you want a single entity to support everybody. But yet when we look at things like gun laws and tax code and, oh, well, we can't tax the rich more. Right? Like, but all of a sudden we want to tell them that they have to support every school or no school. Are you serious, man? Like,
sounds like we're on theme for this week. We need to be nice.
yeah, like it's America, dude. Don't tell me how to live my life. Right? What are you talking about? James Knight says, "Give me a Mo Bamba." He wants
people are about this Mo Bamba.
Wants a Mo
drop,
Bamba.
bro.
Shout out to Mo Bamba.
I got rid of Twitter a few years ago. Roy Wall says, "Good for you." Greg Hawkins says, "I really see no problem with Ryan Smith here. Support BYU doesn't mean he's trying to hurt Utah or Utah State. He's not. He's really not." And then how come I don't see the name Eccles on buildings and Huntsman on buildings at BYU and Utah State and UVU and Weber, and every donor now has to support
No.
get out of here with
No.
that. Snuka says blue Powerade for everyone this morning. Exactly right.
Facts.
Spencer Evans says, "I think it's absurd for people to be upset. He supports his alma mater. It's dumb.
Yeah.
It's dumb. It really is dumb." Dop Hop says, "In due time with Utah basketball, it's not a matter of if. With Craig Smith there and the infrastructure, and it's when. The Running Utes will be back, trust me. And BYU fan, it's probably sooner than you would like, because I think they have a chance to, in the next 2 years, they have a chance to win some games that they have no business winning. So it'll be interesting to see how that goes." Giggity says, "Maybe Joseph Smith showed up at the kid's house." Yeah, I mean,
God bless.
Yeah. Greg Hawkins says, "Utah basketball is rebuilding. We don't have a great program yet. BYU has a better basketball program ever since I was a student in 2011. I don't really blame recruits for choosing the Y right now." That's the thing. See, but Greg, you're trying to be rational, and you're smart, and you're a free thinker. What are you doing here?
And as you can see, I'm going through some shit right now.
Yeah, can you leave? Because that's not right. The rational thought is not welcome when it comes to recruiting.
Yeah, that's how it goes.
Or the conversation about BYU and Utah.
I also think,
it's not welcome.
I also think the Ryan Smith thing, I think a lot of people are like, well, he's the owner of the Jazz, and so he wants to control the narrative in the state so he can get these players to come to the Jazz. I've also seen that around, and that obviously doesn't make sense. But I just think it goes to show you just the level of down the rabbit hole people are willing to go to push a narrative. And I just think it is what it is. Do I wish that, there was a better system for recruiting? Yeah, I do. Do I wish there was a better system for the college football playoff? Yeah, I do. But there's not. And this is what we have to deal with. So, it just is what it is. But I think at the end of the day, I think I would love nothing more than both of these programs to be really good and to square off against each other. That's what I would love to see. And hopefully Utah does that inside of 2 years. Hopefully. But we'll see.
Hopefully.
Yeah. Hopefully.
Okay, so now it's time. Eric C. has arrived.
Oh, boy.
And he would like to know how much are San Diego State winning by tomorrow. I thought doesn't San Diego... See, Eric, you've wrecked my life. I want you to know this, and I'm very disappointed in you.
By the way, do you have Twitter?
I don't know if Eric C. has Twitter, but Eric, I want you to know you've wrecked my life, because I know that I believe San Diego State plays Nevada on Saturday, right? Do they not? You've made me start paying attention to San Diego State, and I hate you for it.
Facts.
Exactly. But congratulations on having the best punter literally in the history of college football.
Yeah.
All right, now go be irrelevant again. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. The thing that's really interesting to me is that that's what I love about doing this show. The Eric C's of the world make this show. The
Grococks,
the Greg Hawkins in the Philippines. I was DMing with a guy. By the way, can we stop with vanishing mode? Stop with vanishing mode. I hate it so much.
I really don't care if you think it's sus.
Man, I was talking to a guy in Belgium yesterday, and he's asking me about winning the Xbox, and he's asking me, he he saw my Twitter bio that I'm a Chelsea football fan, and he was asking me about Eden Hazard. And so, of course, like being the baller I am, I closed a hat trick at Yelp yesterday, so I didn't have a lot of time, on the old, vanishing mode thing.
Right.
So I missed like his last 2 messages. And when you don't have a message in the box, like you can't message back. And so he sends me another message like, hey, are you ignoring me now? And it's like, dude, stop using vanishing mode and we could have a conversation.
Seriously.
Anyway.
Seriously.
James Knight says, I must say, Monty, it's starting to show you've dropped a shirt size, man. Good for you. Well, I still go to the gym, unlike some people.
So wait, let me get this right.
I'm
really glad you brought this up. Okay. So what's today? Thursday?
Did you go to
so
the gym
Tuesday
yesterday?
we're supposed to go to the gym, right?
Did you go to
Tuesday we're supposed to go to the gym at night. We don't end up going
Did you
because
go?
of you.
Did you go
Yesterday, no, I didn't go. I'm behind at Yelp and I needed to close deals.
Did you go to the gym yesterday?
Nope.
You're fat.
Yep, I'm fat. Yep, I'm fat and I'm proud of it. I'm a fat ass. I got you.
You know what the funny thing is about this? Not to completely derail us, because we need to get to this Jazz trade rumor, but I'm such a creature of habit. And I have had a couple of nights of average sleep because I'm out of my routine. And I'm trying to go to bed earlier so I can sleep more, but it's waking me up. Like my alarm goes off at 4:30. It's waking me up. I was up this morning at 4:12. And it's the most annoying thing in the world. And I'm just completely out of schedule. And part of it is we have not been working out every day this week. I only missed Tuesday. But, I worked out by myself yesterday. Oh, my God. Dude had a meltdown in the gym yesterday. He fell off this bench.
Why is it that every time you go to the gym alone, there's somebody who's just, getting removed from the gym?
Well, no, he didn't get removed. He just made a complete ass of himself. The pull downs?
Mm-hmm.
You know how the bench is really short?
Yeah.
He fell off the end of the bench. And then in a fit of rage, dropped the weight stack.
Wow.
Yeah, and so a bunch of people got pissed. It was kind of funny. Anyway, the point is, I'm just out of my routine. But yes, I appreciate you noticing that, James, because the effort is being put forth.
The sleep thing is hard because, I feel like the time change thing, and then trying to sleep longer is difficult. Because
it screwed me up.
Yeah, because your body is like, well, we should be awake already. And you're like, no, dude, we shouldn't be awake already. Time change, get with the program here.
Yep.
And now you can't sleep. Perfect.
And then we're going to Hawaii, and we're going to be 3 hours off kilter again. So my sleep. I need to start taking Quaaludes or something because my sleep.
Quaaludes.
My sleep is going to be so screwed up. Braddock says, "Morning, boys. The Warriors are absolutely terrifying. No Klay Thompson is on his way back. We're people sleeping on the Warriors much in the offseason. I know the Monty show wasn't. No, everybody was sleeping on the Warriors." And what they're getting, like Wiggins last night, they're getting it from somewhere else every night. Now, the Draymond injury could be a game changer for the Dubs. If he's hurt, I'm telling you, he's the straw that stirs the drink.
Mm-hmm.
They need Draymond Green. He has been an MVP candidate this year. Without him, they're not the same team. So he's got a quad injury thing. We'll see what that looks like, but we'll see. Giggity says BYU only beat Cleveland State by 10 the other day. Did they choose not to run up the score? Well, sportsmanship counts. Neville 93 says, you guys think it's going to win the Utah Jazz or the Pacers and the Heat are coming? What do you guys think about that game? Well, here's the question. If you look at the Utah Jazz right now,
mm-hmm.
Are they a championship contending team?
Yes, they're a contender.
I don't believe they are. I don't think they're one of the teams that you can say right now today. Like if I look at right now today, who is it in the East? I think it's the Nets, certainly the Bulls with the best record in the East. I think if they make a trade, you can see that path. I look out west, I say to myself, absolutely the Warriors. I still think the Lakers, even though they're going to have to retool a little bit. But what they're getting out of their secondary players, I just don't see the Jazz have depth right now to win a championship because their starters are not good enough. Outside of Don and Mike Conley, any of those guys are interchangeable. I think there's no doubt you've upgraded with Hassan Whiteside and Eric Paschall, but you're not more physical. Defensively, you're not better. And ultimately, that's what got you last year was not your offense, it was your defense. And obviously the Conley injury but you're not a better team than you were last year. I mean, can we look at this Utah Jazz team right now and say that they are a better team today than they were a year ago?
No. I mean, they're not a better team. I think that they have, what I would be comfortable saying is they have more ways to win a game. We're seeing them. I think the area that they're better in this year than last year is they can shoot. They have the ability to shoot poorly from three and be in these games and have an opportunity to win. Whether they win them or not is a different conversation. But I feel like last year when they shot poorly, it wasn't really that close. It was much more drastic. So I feel like they've improved a little bit there. But I don't know, man. It's tough with the Jazz because I want to say, yeah, man, they're a title contender. They are someone who you would expect to get to the Western Conference Finals this year. And if you're in the Western Conference Finals, to me, that's enough to be like, yeah, we're a title contender. We're one of the last, couple of teams that are going to duel it out to get to the finals. But you're right. I mean, they're not significantly better this year than they were last year. We're still wondering, how many games is Mike Conley going to play? Is he going to miss time in the postseason? Where is this Rudy jump shot ever going to come out, or is his game ever going to expand? We're still asking the same questions.
Yeah, and I think that's because you're largely the same team.
Yeah.
So what's interesting to me is this trade rumor that came out the other day that linked the Utah Jazz to Kyrie Irving. And the first thing I did was laugh because I don't think there's any chance. But is Kyrie Irving what ails this team? And if you had to give up, and it depends on what the package is, certainly you would have to give up Bojan Bogdanovic and Jared Butler to get him, and probably, 2 draft picks. But I'm not making a Kyrie Irving trade right now.
I just don't know. I don't see how that benefits the team. On the surface level, everyone's gonna be like, "Well, he's one of the best players in the league. He's a Hall of Famer. He's all this great stuff. He's won. We could really use him." Yeah, sure, you could use him. The problem is that he's not vaccinated. He's missing a ton of time. And yes, he'd be able to play more in Utah than he would be in New York. Yes, that's absolutely true. But still, he's not vaccinated, so he can't be a full-time guy on the roster every single night.
Cannot play the Lakers, cannot play the Warriors.
Yeah, can't play the best teams in the league. And so you're like, all right, well, we just gave up these assets to get him. What's the point? I mean, it's almost the same, logic as re-signing Mike Conley.
Yeah.
Hey, if Mike's going to be hurt, what's the point of re-signing him? So, no, I agree with you. I mean, I do think it's kind of laughable, and I do think it's unrealistic, especially when you take into consideration their money situation.
Well, and the bigger question for the Jazz right now, to me, is depth. And I think you have more ability off the bench. I mean, obviously, Hassan Whiteside and Eric Paschall are great, but, I mean, are you counting consistently night in and night out that those guys give you 10 points? I mean, their value to you is defensive and rebounding.
Mm-hmm.
But you're in the same boat that you were in last year. You're counting on a very hot or very cold Jordan Clarkson to be your offense. And one of the other things that you have to ask yourself right now is, what are you going to get from Rudy Gay? What are you expecting from Rudy Gay? And how does his role lessen the role of an Eric Paschall? Right? Or how do you fit Paschall, Whiteside, and Rudy Gay on the floor together? That's a question. Can you play Rudy Gay and Rudy Gobert together? I would think you can. But it's not as though Rudy Gay's a lockdown defender. And it's not as though, you don't know what you're going to get from him or how long it's going to take him to fit into your flow. Because he's playing 3-on-3 now, which is great.
Mm-hmm.
So you would think by the end of the year, certainly by the end of this season, and when I say year, I don't mean this season, I mean like the calendar year. By the end of December, you would think he'd be back with your club playing. But where does he fit and what do you get? Because the question again is, are you deeper? Well, yeah, I mean, but your depth really last year was Derek Favors and Jordan Clarkson. Right?
So not much.
So are you better in the Derek Favors role? Well, hell yeah, you are. I mean, Hassan Whiteside alone makes you better. Then you add Eric Paschall, who gives you a nice 3-point shot, the ability to throw that big booty around. You're better off the bench physically. But are you actually, in a basketball scoring winning game sense, are you deeper? And the answer is you're not yet. Now, what does Rudy Gay bring? I don't know. But right now, I think you're probably 2 players away. You are a significant upgrade at the wing for your starting 5 away. And I think you need a consistent, no doubt about it, scorer off of your bench. And because Jordan Clarkson, remember last year, the last half of the year, Jordan Clarkson wasn't in the game the last 5 minutes. He was not a guy that Quinn Snyder counted on. And I don't think there's any doubt he's going to pull out of this 3-point slump that he is in.
Mm-hmm.
He's going to pull out of that.
Yeah, I think that
But
Jordan,
until he does.
Yeah, I think it's tough. Like, I think that the Jazz are in a situation where, yeah, you can always use more scoring off the bench. You can always use more assets off the bench. Absolutely, positively, 100%. But I think one thing you said there, I think is really interesting and is playing out in front of us. Quinn Snyder likes to play a couple of guys, and Quinn doesn't trust most of the guys on this team based on the way he plays them. I'm just going off of what I see on a nightly basis. I'm not saying that there's a personal beef. I'm not saying anything like that. I'm just saying, hey, here are the dudes he plays, and here are the dudes that sit on the bench most of the time.
Yep.
And so I just think that when I look around the league and the development that's happening with like a Maxey in Philly, or a Gary Payton II in Dub Nation, like there are teams that are developing their Jared Butlers. Jared Butler is not developing on this team right now, and I don't understand that, because I just think we're in November. Come February, come March, when this team sustains injury and they need their depth to play, he's not going to be prepared. And so with that being the case, you better do something significant at the trade deadline. So if you think about it, if we project forward, let's say that they're not able to get a deal done at the trade deadline and they just run this roster the rest of the year. Yeah, they're probably not going to win a championship. They're probably not going to win a championship. And the real ball buster about that is that next year you're so financially strapped, you're going to have to make some tough decisions on some mainstays on this team. And that's the problem. And that's why I fear for guys like Jared Butler and really the core of this team, because you're going to have to make moves, and they're probably not going to be very good next year.
And this is the hard part about like the Lakers. Like watching Avery Bradley, or, the 1,000 guys that they signed.
Malik Monk
has given them, because Kendrick Nunn's been hurt, Malik Monk has given them an incredible contribution. He essentially keeps them in the game last night to get them to overtime against Miami. He gives them 27 points on 4 of 7 from 3. Like, they get 12 out of Wayne Ellington. They get 12 out of Carmelo Anthony on an awful shooting night. You're getting, Davis and Westbrook and Avery Bradley. Avery Bradley gave them 5 of 8 from 3, 17 points.
I mean, that's a quality contribution.
Yeah, and this is without LeBron James.
And by the way, Avery Bradley is an elite defensive player. Like, he can play defense.
Yeah, and let's not forget, you got nothing out of Kent Bazemore, who is at this point is just a defensive player. But I mean, you're missing so many guys, so you can see the upside of that team. Like, I think if you look at the Phoenix Portland game, because this is a game that I think is a really good example. You look at Portland. Portland's not a championship contender.
No,
and I just can't believe that you're going to have Damian Lillard on that team come March 1st. Like, I just can't believe that. But I look at the Suns, who frankly have been a pretty average team. Well, all of a sudden they're 7-3, and you look at Jay Crowder. You put a guy on the floor in a Phoenix Suns uniform, he's going to contribute. I mean, you look at Crowder gave him 12, Bridges gives him 10, JaVale McGee gives him 14 and 8. With DeAndre Ayton being out with this leg bruise or whatever the hell is wrong with him, 21 out of Chris Paul, only 12 from Devin Booker, but 31 from Frank Kaminsky in a career night. And they beat the Portland Trailblazers by 10. Like, I'm telling you, the West is way better. Way, way better than they were. I don't even know right now that I would say the Phoenix Suns are a contender for a championship.
No, I think it's really early on. I think that the Lakers are a massive question mark. I think you don't know we
Huge.
don't know when LeBron's going to be back. We don't know when LeBron's actually going to be able to play consistent minutes at 100% health. We don't know what this team's going to look like in the postseason. But you got to figure they're going to be in the postseason. You just have to make that assumption. So they're going to be in. The Dubs are going to be in. I would assume, not assume, we know the Jazz are going to be in. And so it's just going to be a matter of the matchup. And this is what is so, the more I think about this Jazz team, the more I think, like, you're in a really tough position as an organization.
Yes.
You are really, really, really good in the regular season. You are a dominant regular season team. But when you match up for 7 games against an elite basketball team, they're going to find your weaknesses. And your weaknesses in that kind of scenario are deeper and bigger than other teams' weaknesses. And that's what's tough. It's not that this team sucks. It's not that we hate the Jazz. But when we talk about winning a championship, because that's the goal that Donovan Mitchell stated, hey, well, I'm here to win championships, you have to do more. You got to change this roster. You've got to, as much as I love Jingles, you got to move on from Jingles. Like, you have to.
And it's the same narrative we talked about last year. They struggle against the best teams they face. So I think a trade is absolutely apropos. I think you need to make a deal because you're 7-3 or whatever it is, 8-3. I think it's 8-3.
Yeah.
Against a pretty soft schedule. And 2 of your 3, the Orlando loss, throw that out, right? But the loss to Miami and the loss to the Chicago Bulls were not flukes. It was not accidental. And that worries you because coming up here, you've got some more difficult matchups, right? I mean, you're home for this long stretch. Indiana, I don't know what to make of Indiana at this point. I mean, obviously, that's a team that defends the hell out of the ball. I mean, they lost to the Nuggets 101-98 the other night. I mean, they're losing. They're giving up 101
Not
points.
a championship team, but
they're
a
tough to
problem.
deal with.
They're tough to deal with.
They're tough to deal with.
Yeah.
Because every game they play is a fight. And, when you look at, who's doing what and how they're, how they play. I mean, pretty clearly, that's going to be a tough team for the Jazz to deal with. I would think that you would win this game by 10 points because it's at home. I would hope.
But isn't it the conundrum with the Jazz? Hey, this is going to be a tough team, but you're still going to beat them by 10.
Sabonis, Miles Turner, Malcolm Brogdon's playing very good basketball right now. They don't have a great bench in my opinion. TJ McConnell and Torrey Craig give them decent contributions, but they're a grinder, gritty team. And it'll be interesting to see. I'm really looking forward to this game. Honestly, I think stylistically, this is one of the more intriguing games the first month of the season.
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to it. I'm also looking forward to the Chicago Bulls.
Yeah. How do you not love it?
Now, I can only say so many times that my guy, and he is my guy.
Shout out to Mo Bamba.
No, not Mo Bamba. My guy, Alex Caruso, is making a huge difference for them.
Facts.
The play that he made, and I'm sure everybody's seen the highlight of the 360 dunk that Levine had at the end of the game, where Alonso makes a baseball pass, that was just, right over the head. I think it was Powell.
It was gorgeous. Yeah.
Caruso makes that play possible. Just playing fantastic basketball in Chicago.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure I'm ready to say the Bulls are back. I will say the Chicago Bulls are fun to watch. And hearing the story of Alex Caruso, now I don't know how many people saw this story. Did you see this about his contract? He got a contract offer from the Chicago Bulls. He wanted to be a Laker. He wanted to stay with the Lakers. And he said to the Lakers, hey, I'll take less. I don't need you to match it full. The Lakers lowballed him, like way lowballed him. So he wound up in Chicago, and he's playing the best basketball of his career. And it's not coincidental that they're the best team in the East right now, and he's a big part of it.
Mm-hmm.
Now, DeMar DeRozan has a lot more to do with that. You look at the way that Lonzo Ball is developing. The guy, I think, is shooting 45% from 3. He's making almost half of his 3-pointers. Like, the Chicago Bulls are a handful.
Yeah, and I think the thing that really separates them is every one of those guys. So, like, Lonzo Ball, Alex Caruso, DeMar, Zach LaVine, they all know their role. They all know what their responsibility is. So, like, Zach LaVine and DeMar DeRozan understand that, they're going to be the ones that power the offense. It's just that simple. Lonzo Ball knows, hey, I got like 2 jobs in life. I got to play really good man-up defense, and I got to facilitate. And if I get the opportunity to shoot a 3, I need to make that. And that's what he's doing. It's a simple existence.
But have you noticed the guys that played in the Olympics are struggling with the 3 ball? Like, I look at my guy Book, like, struggling with the 3 ball.
Well, like, it was on Twitter yesterday. The ball thing is real.
If you look at LaVine, Booker, Chris Middleton, who's hurt out of the lineup right now, like, a lot of the guys that played in the finals and then went on to play in the Olympic tournament are struggling right now. And I don't mean to be redundant because I know we talk about this all the time, but I think that attrition you're just not going to overcome that. You're just not. And I think that it'll be something to watch. I guess I buy into this Wilson basketball thing. So if you don't know the story, the NBA went away from Spalding. Spalding used to be the official ball, like, now and forever. And, well, they changed to Wilson this year. And the leather compound is different. It feels different. I guess it's a lot slicker. And the channels in the basketball don't hit your fingers the same way. And if you've ever played basketball, you know that the way the ball feels in your hand is critically important. Because what you're seeing is a lot of guys bobbling passes, not catching the ball cleanly. A lot of catch-and-shoot 3 guys are missing those because the basketball is just different. It's harder for them to handle.
Yeah.
And, a lot of people, I don't remember what that graphic said yesterday, but essentially Book said.
Book is just struggled a little bit. I mean, it hasn't been horrific or anything, but there's been a clear spike in his performance back to where he typically is.
Yeah.
Now, a couple weeks into the season. And he was just saying that, he's had to get used to this new ball. And that is playing pickup as a kid, right? But when you're a professional, and this is what I think people don't understand, these guys play in the same dimensions every night with the same ball. The 3-point line is the same distance. The hoop is the same size.
They use the same basketball every day, 365. The basketball in the NBA it is totally different than college. It is a very unique ball. And guys in the NBA, like, they use it every time they play basketball. And, like, sometimes you'll go to the gym and you'll play with a jet ball or a Nike ball or whatever. NBA guys don't do that. They use the same basketball all the time.
Even when they're practicing in the summer and all that.
Yes. And so now the ball is different, and guys haven't had time to adjust to it. And if you think about it, it's just interesting to look at. I think there's a lot of factors at play. I think this is going to be a much different league in January.
Yeah.
Because I think a lot more guys are going to rest, and I think they're load managing Chris Paul and Devin Booker in Phoenix. I think there's certainly a lot of people wondering, like, Zach LaVine can't hit water from the ocean for long stretches in games. Like, it's almost frustrating. I'm almost at a point where I'm at with Notre Dame and the Chicago Bears where I am irrational watching the Bulls games. Like, I just want to go smack the stupid off of Zach LaVine's face sometimes.
Drop that.
Yeah, when he hawks up like a triple covered 3-point shot, it's like, bro, what are you doing? It's so frustrating.
I'll try to stay calm and not curse.
Anyway, Daryl says international players are used to change. FIBA uses molten. Yes, that's exactly right. That's a great point. He also says Caruso dresses like an 80s aerobics instructor. Don't you talk about my boy like
Sorry,
that.
folks, that's what it is.
I mean, you're not wrong. But my point is...
Nice headband, bud.
He is actually a fashionista. I don't know how many people know that Alex Caruso has like a clothing company and he does T-shirts. And I just hate that he's an Adidas guy.
Yeah. Put some Kobe's on, bro. Come on.
You know what I'm saying, man? And you saw the Don thing yesterday, right?
Yeah. The Don thing was funny. Like, I'm not an Adidas guy, man. Like, I think that, I understand Don's got, obviously, Adidas guy, signed, shoe deal, the whole deal. And he's got all his shoes lined up, yeah, exactly. See? Like, this shoe is something to look at, right? The Bordeaux. I mean, is this not like a beautiful shoe right here? Then the shoe on the wall, right? The AJ3 Pine. Like, these are all shoes that actually have some charisma about them. Donnie's shoe, I see kids wearing Donnie's shoe all the time.
Donnie's shoe.
Yeah, Donnie's shoe. Yeah, DM45. You know, Donnie, guy who can't wear glasses in the game. That guy. Yeah, kids wear his shoes all
That's
the
the
time.
guy who took 27 years to finally put contacts in.
Okay, but they're in and Don's are not. So whatever. Hate on me.
It took you 27 years to figure out the contacts are where it's at when you're snowboarding, so you don't have to wear glasses under goggles.
Why are you being an asshole?
27, because it's who I am. 27.
Good.
27. Anyway. Lose those ugly green things behind Jake. Are you kidding? He's talking. Are you? Wait, no, come on, man. Now you got to put that up here, man. Let me move to Bordeaux. Are you kidding me? That shoe's amazing.
That's not what we're about.
Why are you guys hating on it?
What are you talking about, Daryl?
What's
Eric
Daryl
C
saying?
says the Bears, LOL. He's the one who said get rid of the green things.
Oh.
Let's see. Brylark says Monty jumped off the Booker train and is slurping Caruso now. I'm a player's guy. First of all, you shut your mouth, Jake.
That's awesome, dude.
Second of all, I want you to know I'm Christmas shopping right now, so I would shut up. Anyway, I'm kidding. Remember when your mom used to say that? Well, I'm Christmas shopping right now, so you just keep going. Go ahead. Yeah.
Go ahead. Yeah. See how few presents are under the tree.
Yeah. Anyway, the point is, I'm a player's guy. That Book is my favorite player by far.
Yeah.
Like it's not close. But I've become less and less a fan of teams because frankly, it's because the Bulls are such a putrid, crappy organization.
Thanks, Jerry.
And I wish Jerry Reinsdorf would trip and fall onto the third rail of an L track.
You just gave a gift to the Russians.
You know, but I'm a Bulls fan. You know.
Yeah. When they're good.
No, I'm always a Bulls fan.
Yeah, you've been a Bulls fan for a long time.
And it's frustrating they've been bad for a long time.
Yeah.
Slurped half off in Chicago now. I have not slurped half of Chicago off. I have. Oh, he says Slurpees half off in Chicago now.
Oh.
Thank you for clarifying. Thank you. I think I saw the desk rise when Monty was slurping the Bulls. Absolutely, it did. Caruso deserves a bag alert drop. Oh, Jeremy Bolton now singing the praises of Alex Caruso, who you said sucked, and you know. We've said it for the last 2 years that Lonzo would be great, a great get for any team. He gets better and better every year. He really does. And I think the Lakers regret that trade. I mean, they won a championship. I get it, but you cannot have too much guard play around LeBron and AD.
Mm-hmm.
I would have redone that trade. James Knight says the NBL has been using Wilson for years. Yeah, I would agree.
It's not that Spalding's better than Wilson. It's just the simple fact that they changed the ball. So dudes have to get used to it. That's all it is.
I would agree with that. Speaking of slurping.
Yeah.
Let's talk about Dan Orlovsky.
Uh-huh.
So I like Dan Orlovsky a lot. I think he's a good dude.
I think a lot of people do.
Energetic.
Yeah.
He's got some crazy-ass ideas. So my guy Orlovsky writes a blog, okay? And
just stop right there.
I guess blogs are still things.
Okay.
I'm unaware of what those things are.
Right, yeah.
But Dano writes a blog for allprodad.com, which could be his website. I have no idea. And in his blog, he wrote about addiction, 4 ways to avoid temptation.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, you don't want to smoke ice, boom, pow, crack. And, you know, like drugs are bad, right?
Ice, boom, pow.
Like it's bad.
Yeah.
Only he wasn't talking about that. He was talking about how do you handle temptation while being away from your family, somebody recently asked. This is an important question. It's a question we dads need to get right. I've tried to live by the idea that it's easier to avoid temptation than to resist it.
I want it.
Okay. So essentially what Mr. Orlovsky is talking about here is being a dad and a husband and having to deal with the urge to cheat on your spouse. Now, I've been married for a week or 700.
Mm-hmm.
Like I've been married for 20 years.
Right.
I don't think I've ever had the urge to cheat on my wife.
Right.
I mean, I guess temptation is a daily part of life, We talked about the girl at the gym the other day. Like, is that temptation though?
I don't know. I mean, I think that I don't really feel like that's temptation. No, I feel like that's just an observation. That's just enjoying the visuals of life. That doesn't mean that you were like looking at someone doesn't mean that you were tempted to go and like interact.
Just because you watched a girl in hot pants squat at the gym doesn't mean you were like, oh, hey, I need to go spend some private time alone.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like that. It just is,
To me, that's not temptation.
Yeah.
I can say I've never been close to cheating on my wife. Now, because I think it's a decision. Are we really in a place as guys where we have to look at ourselves? Like he also writes, I found that if I know my biggest struggles, I'm more likely to avoid them. Okay, I would agree with that. So he says you're better equipped to avoid it. If you know what your struggle is, you're better equipped to avoid it. I don't personally struggle with pornography, but I know a lot of guys who do.
Mm-hmm.
If you're one of them, be honest with yourself about your wandering eyes so you can fight the battle. So immediately, now, again, I've told you I think pornography is the great destroyer of men.
And we have countless examples of this.
Yeah.
It's not a secret.
But I'm not the guy also who says that you're a terrible person if you watch pornography. I think it's an individual thing.
Mm.
But I also don't think it makes you a terrible person if you watch pornography. Like and that's what things like this are very interesting.
I think this conversation is difficult because I think that, it really depends on who you're talking to about it. I think that like pornography is like a subset of this conversation.
Yes.
That is a good example of something that like one person could be like you say, hey, I don't think that makes you a bad person. But then you have this person over here is like, hey, you're going to hell. You are going to burn alive. Like it just,
but
there's so much judgment.
In our community where religion is so prominent.
Yeah.
I think there are taboos that almost drive people to look at pornography or drink or like there's so many rules and so much legalism in religion.
Right.
Right. And that's absolutely part of this.
And that maybe that is what strengthens. I mean, that's basically what you're saying. It strengthens the temptation, having to.
It gives the temptation more leverage
because you have to follow, air quotes, follow these rules.
And then there's the whole guilt cycle and whatever. But he also says, the less time I have alone, the better, and that's true for all of us. Is it really?
See, this is fascinating to me. This portion of this article is really fascinating because I think a lot of people that I talk to my age hate being alone. It's like they will do anything that they can do not to be alone. And
I love solitude.
I love the quiet time, like I'd feel like you ever just are you ever find yourself just sitting somewhere and it's like ultra quiet and your ears are ringing?
Yes.
Like, I feel like we live in such a loud, constantly turned on environment that it's like when you get to take the quiet time, you should take it.
One of my favorite parts of the day is when I first wake up because I usually sit up in bed and I'm a big believer in practicing gratitude. And I'll just say, hey, thanks for waking me up. I feel good. This is great to be alive. Today's going to be a great day. But I sit on the edge of my bed and I just listen to the quiet. And it's one of my favorite parts. The room is pitch black, and it's just one of the most quietest times of my day because I get very little reprieve in my day. I'm usually overly stimulated with, hey, I'm on the phone, I'm talking to people, work, answering, pings and answering messages and emails.
And the contractor's putting the door in, and the dogs are barking.
And the dogs are barking, or the dog wants lunch, and the dog wants breakfast, and there's a package that, like, you just have chaos.
Yeah.
At 4:30 in the morning, there's no chaos. The street is quiet.
And I think what Dan is saying in the article, what he's getting at is that being alone allows temptation to, to thrive. And I just disagree with that.
The Nye Guy says, blog D's nuts. Okay. I mean, hey.
Next question.
Yeah, that's one alternative. But Orlovsky says, the key might be spending your time around more people who build you up. Find a group that has similar interests and spend time with them. You'll keep busy and be in a community. Double win. Okay. I think that's solid advice on the regular. I think you want to be surrounded by people who are doing and achieving the things that you want to be doing and achieving. There's no question about that. But I think solitary and confined moments where you're alone and in control of your environment, and you can just, I mean, like, ask yourself this question, and I'm serious. Everybody watching the show, ask yourself this question. How often do you get to just sit in a room alone, quietly, and just be at one with your thoughts? No phones, no computers,
No kids,
dogs, wives, girlfriends.
husbands.
How often does that happen? Because I think one of the things that is fascinating to me about this blog and really just in general is we're so hungry to be surrounded that we forget how important it is to be alone.
Yeah.
That's when you learn about yourself. Because when you're alone, your mind tends to speak truth. And your true feelings come out because there's nothing to distract you and suppress them. So, like I can tell you, standing at my closet this morning in the dark with, and I get dressed in front of my closet. My wife is sleeping. And so I get dressed in front of my closet using the flashlight on my phone. And, it's just like, what was I thinking about in that moment? I was thinking about the fact that I have this work to do and I've got to be on the phone at this time and I have this and I have that. And I caught myself and I said, just give yourself a minute here. And I took some time to pick out what I was going to wear, which, by the way, it's not a lot of thought. It goes into the black T-shirt every day. I literally have like 30 black T-shirts in my closet. But like I just took some time, and then my routine is I get dressed, I go into my shoe room, I pick out whatever shoe I'm going to wear, and I just go sit at the bottom of my staircase on the last stair, and I put my socks and my shoes on. And it's the last moment of quiet that I'm going to get for the entire day.
Well, because then I come over and wreck everything. Yeah.
Well, and then we start doing the podcast. And when the podcast's over, we got to go to the Yelpatory. When the Yelpatory's over, we generally have to go on a walk or we have to do whatever. And then it's time to go to bed. And then we wake up and do it all over again. So I literally get about 5 to 10 minutes in the morning alone in the quiet by myself.
Yeah.
And I cherish it. So I actually don't think it's bad to be alone. I don't want weeks of solitary. I don't want hours of solitary. It would be nice, and Mrs. Monty and I have talked about this. We don't have the room in our house to do it right now, but I would love a room that just has a comfortable chair, an ottoman, and a table. That's it. That's the only thing in the room. And I would love some blackout curtains in there. And I would love to be able to go sit in that chair for 10 minutes and be alone.
Yeah.
At some point, I'm going to have that in my house.
Yeah. It's funny.
Anyway.
It's funny how, desires change as you age. Like the things that you want are different. Like 25-year-old person would never even like that. I feel like that would never even be a thought for a 25-year-old, like that kind of room to take advantage of that time.
Oh, Greg Hawkins is completely correct. Too many of us these days misinterpret solitude as loneliness.
Man,
that is so true.
That's powerful, bro.
So true. And the guy nailed it. Looking at the menu is fine. You just don't order.
Facts.
Jeremy Bolton says, you can admit beauty, Monty, the same as any man or woman. I don't think it's temptation.
I agree.
Greg Hawkins says, I feel like the author of this article is just projecting his own problems onto society. Probably. I can honestly say I have tempted. I don't think I've even ever been tempted to cheat on my wife. I think I have, and this is part of like your thought process and gratitude. When you consistently practice gratitude, when you're like, oh man, what thought goes through your mind? I want to pound that chick, or like, hey, hey, me, you, hotel room. Like, I couldn't even tell you what the functionality of that looks like because I'm not willing to risk the awesomeness that my life contains.
Yeah, and I think that's the difference. I think that a lot of people, well, I'll just talk about men because that's what I know, right? Like, I think a lot of dudes are like, yeah, man, I need to go and get after that, not thinking about what they already have. And that's the thing. That's the problem. We live in an instant gratification, now or never world. And that's just, relationships are not like that.
Brylark says, if Monty ever gets in the same room as Alex Caruso, I'm sure he'd reconsider. Well, duh.
Y'all about to fuck this up.
I don't know. I just think that we're so easily, if you are this tempted to cheat on your wife, I think there's a problem in your relationship.
Yeah.
That's what comes across to me. Like, the thing I've always struggled with athletes on the road is baseball players are different because you're on the road for weeks at a time. But a football player is on the road for like 2 days. Like you fly out on, most guys, and it depends. Some teams, depending on the trip, will fly out and spend a week on the East Coast. You can't spend a week away from your wife without, how many guys at the Super Bowl have gotten caught with hookers, or how many guys, like, you can't spend a week without buying a hooker. You can't.
Tiger, please.
You can't spend a week on the road without cheating on your wife. Like, there's a bigger issue at play there.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I just think these are all problems that mask something else, is what I will say. And, in our state where we deal with addiction and suicide and, stupid governors who refuse to do what the people who elected him to do want him to do, we have bigger issues, supposedly, I guess, than who watches porn and who doesn't. But if you think pornography is not a significant issue, if you're watching porn every day, I'm not judging you. I'm just telling you the straight facts. If you are not watching porn, if you are watching porn every day, there's a bigger issue for you.
Yeah.
There's something going on because it's filling a gap of some kind. It just is.
Yep.
I don't know, does watching porn make you more likely to cheat on your wife?
I'm sure you could find a study that says it does, but I just think it's a case-by-case thing, man. It is a case-by-case thing. I think that, there are humans. Humans are fascinating creatures, man. The way the brain works, the way the brain can become dependent on certain things and want other things, and it just is. It is a deep, deep science that I think is misunderstood and hard to control. And I think that's the value of routine and putting yourself in a good position. But again, I just go back to the whole being alone thing. I don't think just because you're alone, that means that, temptation is everywhere around you and you're just going to succumb to all these bad things. Dude, I'm alone for like 8 hours a day working and nothing happens. I do the same thing every day. So I just don't think that it's like that. And I kind of agree with what the commenters are saying. It does it not make you wonder about Dan himself? Does it not make you wonder, like, hey, is this something that, has Dan been tempted? It kind of makes you wonder. I love Dan. I love the work he does. Him and Ryan Smith are, in my opinion, if you're a football fan, are must-watch TV if you're watching TV in the morning. Or Ryan Clark. I said Ryan Smith. Ryan Clark. Those two together breaking down football is, it's amazing. Like, I love the guy.
All right, real quick before we go.
Yeah.
What did you make of the Kyle Rittenhouse testimony yesterday?
I think he was acting. I think he is a fraud. I think he was coached on how to take the stand. And I think that it is classic America politics, acting to get out of what you did, which was kill people.
Rittenhouse said he knew the man who threw the bag at him, Joseph Rosenbaum, was unarmed at the time of the shooting. He admitted he did not know what Rosenbaum was thinking when he chased him, but also stated confidently what he thought would have happened. So the guy that he shot and killed threw a bag at Rittenhouse, and Rittenhouse admitted on the stand yesterday that he knew he was not armed. He shot him anyway. And by the way, the judge in this case, I don't even know what you say about this. I don't know how many people heard about it. So this judge is a little kooky. He would not allow prosecutors in this case to call the people who were shot by Kyle Rittenhouse victims. He said that was verboten. And the thing that really pissed people off yesterday was during the trial, The judge is sitting on the bench and his phone rang and it played Trump's God Bless America anthem. He has a ringtone on his phone. Okay, well, who has ringtones anymore? And it's Lee Greenwood's God Bless the USA, which in this trial of a guy in Kyle Rittenhouse who has espoused the greatness of Donald Trump is a little more than a coincidence. So I have no doubt that Kyle Rittenhouse is not going to serve a day in jail. I have no question about that. I think it is fascinating to me that this kid is now forever going to be a meme, no matter what happens. And I think that when you have a guy in Kyle Rittenhouse who stands up on a witness stand, sobbing and yelling and unable to control himself, after admitting that he knew the guy he shot and killed was unarmed, it's a little difficult to take as genuine. I don't know.
Yeah.
Am I misreading this?
No,
I mean,
I don't think you're misreading it. And there's a video going around, you may have seen it, of the prosecutor essentially forcing Kyle to admit that he knew he was using deadly force. And I just think that we're in a position here where I can't believe I'm saying this, right? I feel like it's so outlandish to say this, but I feel like it's true. The way the Donald Trump era presidency was handled in terms of elections and things like that did not just have ramifications in politics. It is having ramifications in court trials and all these different situations. And I'm watching this video, and the prosecutor's like, hey, so you knew you were using deadly force when you shot at these people, right? When you dropped these people, you knew that you were using deadly force. And he was like, no, and then yes, and then like you're just people. I feel like the Donald Trump era presidency and the way, again, I'm not trying to say that I hate Donald Trump or anything, but just the fact is the way he went about the press and just dancing around COVID and saying it's fake and just straight up ignoring the truth is now other people are taking that route. And it's crazy to me. Like, you had an assault rifle and you were shooting at people
that you admittedly knew were unarmed.
That's deadly force, dude. Like, what are you running from here? And yeah, I agree with you. This kid is not going to serve any time. I would be shocked.
Well, and now they're asking for a mistrial because the prosecutor played a tape where Rittenhouse talked about 2 weeks before the Kenosha shooting. He had talked about shooting shoplifters. Like, he just didn't have respect for what the end outcome of pulling the trigger would be.
Yeah.
That much, I think, is very clear. It's not even in dispute.
Mm-hmm.
He just did not have respect for the fact that, like, hey, these guys are going to die. Like,
which is amazing to me. That kind of person has an assault rifle.
It just is one of these things where we need a real look at how people are able to procure guns in this country. And he got these guns legally through his family. Like, I mean, it's remarkable to me that we're in a time in this country where we knowingly look at the Ahmaud Arbery shooting. I mean, do you guys remember that? He was jogging, and 3 guys in a truck essentially chased him down and shot him. And they claimed he had been breaking into construction sites. There's no evidence that he ever did that. And the pure violence that went into killing this guy. And then this Rittenhouse thing where you have then I think he was 17 at the time of the shooting, a 17-year-old white teenager that shot people on the street and then walked right by the cops with an AR-15 in plain view when the cops were responding to a shooting call and they never even looked at him.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we're in a crazy time in this world, and like, that's why the redistricting shit here in Utah is such a big fight, because you have a governor in Spencer Cox who will not get my vote a second time. I mean, we have no ability to change the laws or the people who represent us anymore. We make it more difficult for the average American to vote. And we take away people's rights because, there's a certain sect in our population that wants to remain in control. And when they're not in control, they're going to do everything they can to regain control and keep control. And that's just not how America was built. And I don't know how we got here. And this Rittenhouse trial is so interesting because we have a judge that is so clearly biased on the wrong side of it. And what I feel like is that we just can't trust in systems anymore. We can't trust that the judicial system is fair. And if you're black in this country, it hasn't been fair for generations. But I just don't feel like you can trust the people that are sitting on benches. I don't feel like we can trust prosecutors and defense attorneys. I certainly don't feel like right now that we have any idea what we're fighting for. And here we are on Veterans Day. And I don't think we have any idea where our military is going next or what the purpose of their missions will be.
Mm-hmm.
And my feeling is that there's never been so much uncertainty in our country. It's scary to me. Like we just don't know what tomorrow is going to bring in this country, and that's never been the case. It has rarely been the case.
Yeah.
Dale Donuts says BYU has always been the top LDS athlete, sprinkled in with a few non-members. I would agree with that. Greg Hawkins says, what lessons do you guys think we should take away from this whole Rittenhouse thing? I think we need to have a lot more respect for what comes out of the end of a gun barrel. And we don't. And I think I've always been a proponent, a supporter of gun reform. I think we should all have the right to own weapons legally. I just don't think that everybody should have that right. And I think when you're 17 years old, you should not be carrying an AR-15 because you just don't have respect for what that weapon can do.
And he's shown that repeatedly.
I mean, and I think his parents should be held responsible. And I don't know that they will be. But when you provide your child that gun and he goes and does that, man.
Yep.
It just is.
Yeah, I think accountability is
scary.
lacking. It definitely is lacking in the gun world. It is. And,
Yeah.
So lessons to take away. Everyone's going to say, oh, well, we need gun reform. I don't know that I think we need gun reform. I think we just need to figure out a way where a 17-year-old doesn't have an assault rifle. I think we need to figure out a way to not have these crazy situations playing out on the street. Like, that's just what it is. I mean, you're always going to have, the person who illegally owns a handgun or, that's always, I just don't see a world in the United States of America where that's not the case. I just think that's, if we're being realistic, that's always going to play out. But there's a line with everything in this country. So, there's a line with politics, there's a line with guns, there's a line with gas prices. Like, there's a certain threshold that Americans are willing to go to. And we just haven't met that threshold with guns yet. Not enough people have died, apparently. And that's the troubling part. You look around the world and, you don't hear about people dying from guns. You hear about people dying from stabbings or these other random events. And that's what's tough. So, yeah, I think the gun thing, I think, I agree with you. The court situation is not great. It does not instill trust in Americans that you've got a judge sitting up there who is a Donald Trump voter and is presiding over this case. I don't know how that happens.
Yeah. Brandon Whiteside, that's so funny. Did you see the judge not understanding how Zoom pinch worked? Talking about like pixelations and like, dude, what are you doing? This judge is so out of touch. Boyd Lake says, I came here to hear about BYU recruiting. Well, we spent 45 minutes on that.
Yeah.
So we always end the show with life. Always. The Nye guy says, Monty for Prez. Yeah, that's a job I don't want. Daryl says Rittenhouse will be acquitted and should be based on what happened that night. Well, he shot a guy who threw a plastic bag at him. And Rittenhouse says he knew he was unarmed. Was that the standard for guilty, not guilty?
Yeah.
Brylark, I agree. He'll go free. No question about it. Brandon Whiteside says, I think carrying AK guy and the school shooter guy seem to have the same mentality. One is begging to be provoked. The other has lost control. Yeah. Guns scare me, man. Like I don't comfortably sit in movie theaters anymore. But, look at the grocery store shootings in this country or
Yeah.
yeah.
You never know when you're going to need one. That's the
How
problem.
are we the only, modern society in this world that has this kind of gun violence?
Because we're America and everyone's got to be free. And
It's amazing.
Yeah.
I love our country. I love our neighbors. And I think everybody should, if you are competent and legal, within the laws, you should own guns. I own guns. I don't know how in this day and age you don't own a handgun. I don't believe that we need assault rifles. I don't think we need sniper rifles. That's just my opinion.
Yeah.
I don't judge you for having them. I just don't know that we need them. So,
Okay.
there you go.
Good.
One more show tomorrow. Man, the week has flown by.
Yeah, it really has. This
I
week
can't
has been
believe
crazy,
that
dude.
2 weeks from now we will be in Hawaii.
Drinking on the beach.
I cannot wait. I can't remember the last time I said I've needed a vacation. And we just took 2 weeks off 2 days off last week.
Yeah.
It makes a huge difference. Now, it took me some time to get back into the groove, and I'm still not mentally back in the groove. But
Yeah. It's
that's
hard.
what it is.
Yeah.
Appreciate you being here. Please give us a thumbs up. Give us a subscribe if you're not. And giving away this Xbox Series S when we get to 3,000 subs. We've had a great couple of days. We appreciate that. The Nye Guy says, take Joe Ingles with you. No.
It's not nice.
It's not nice. But until tomorrow, I don't know. Until tomorrow, say goodbye, Jake.
Goodbye, Jake.